I think that's absolutely ridiculous when they try to do this. We had Tori Hart on here as well as Tamika Raymond, and we talked to them also about keeping their ex's last name, and the way that people come for women that decide to keep the same last name to keep them and their children having the same last name is absolutely ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, but 9 times 10, it's usually the ones who don't even know who their baby daddy is.
Okay.
That's coming for me. I was married to I didn't have any out of wedlock, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is shade. So my last name is Kelly because I was married before I had mine. So go find your other 10 and figure out which last name all of them are gonna take before you worry about me.
All right now.
All right.
Well, two snaps and a Z to
Said
that.
that. Do you think that there's been a shift in how we are, kids are being raised, where they don't have the tools to have a respectable disagreement, a difference of opinion without feeling like a victim and feeling like I gotta lash out and punish you. I gotta come to school with a gun. There's all these crazy reactions now to things that we dealt with as young kids, like playing the dozens, cracking on each other. I think that builds character, and I feel like we're being overly protective sometimes in a way where people are not being allowed to build any kind of character, any kind of thick skin anymore. So now that opened the door for cancel culture to really take over. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have the same backbones. These young kids, they get mad and they're coming to school with a gun. Some girl turned them down. That was like normal back in the day, right? Like getting dissed or getting your heart broken. But there's something happening now where these things that were part of being a teenager, part of growing up, coming of age, are now, people are just so overly sensitive where they can't even take a difference of opinion or getting their feelings hurt.
So that's interesting you say that. So you think about those who are in power and in control now, which is primarily the nerds of our generation. And, maybe during the bullying, like you said, a lot of us was tough. You did have that amount of that percentage that was weak, and they, I can't take, they do the little, how the villain always put his fist up, I'm gonna show them. And, now they all group together and in power, and now this is the result of them being in the power.
So the
like have everybody kind of, you can't say that.
The nerds created Facebook.
It's easy to hide, like they say, behind your keyboard and kind of like this invisible cell, so to speak, and say all these negative things to people. You know what I mean?
Boy.
But it's also, I think, it's a reflection of America, and it's dangerous in a lot of ways too, for where I think things are headed. Because again, you mentioned kids not being able to handle rejection. I mean, you have a kid that goes into a parent-teacher conference for all intents and purposes and still comes back and shoots up the school.
Well, you have to think, too, the foundation of the family. There's no more big mamas. There's no more aunties. There's no more that favorite uncle. When you go in the club now, it's 3 generations in the club. You got the mama, the granddaughter, and the daughter in their catless back suits, and they twerking and dancing on the tables together. You like, well, who's the grandma, who the daughter, and who's the... We don't even have that foundationally anymore. We don't have our elders that we go to that teach us about life and to respect the struggle and what does that look like. We don't have now, everybody sitting around the table with a tablet or a phone. That used to be the time where you broke bread, you talked about issues, you talked about school, what you went through, or you had that play aunt or that play uncle that was like, I got you, or that coach. We don't have that anymore. So now I say we have a generation with no foundation. You have kids raising themselves and don't know what to do with those emotions because there's not that adult there present. Everybody worried about contours, lace fronts, and six packs. And we got these kids running around that's like they're being exposed to things at lightning speed. When we were little, we had to either find out because we snuck to the bottom of the stairs when the grown folks was in the living room talking, or it came on the news. They are getting it at lightning speed, violence, sex, drugs, body images. So what do you expect for this generation to be like? And there's nothing there that is neutralizing what they're taking in daily. Then you top that with you're being bullied and picked on. So you're in a family, again, domestic violence. If you're seeing violence, that's what you're going to put out into the world. So we have to look at the home structure to figure out why are people this way. It's not just about being sensitive, it's that people are not supported in this day and age.
And then I do think there is and continues to be a huge problem with sexual abuse and gay bashing and bullying. And then sometimes I say, is there an overcorrection where we went too far the other way, where we can't even have a conversation? There's certain words you can't even say where people will be like, oh, I'm canceling you because you said this.
It's interesting how traditional media influence bloggers to get sensationalized headlines to kind of just move things. So what's the solution again? You know, how should we hold each other accountable and still allow for everyone to have their form of freedom of speech? You know,
I
what do you
think
think?
first we have to realize that a lot of people, especially celebrities that we're trying to counsel, is because we only know the persona. We don't even know the person. You don't know that person. You know the persona, you know the brand, you know what they want you to see. So at the end of the day, you can't make a decision and counsel somebody when you've never been home with them. You don't know what their daily life is. You don't know their childhood, their background, what they came from. You only know a video, an album, a comedy show they've done. They know nothing about the person personally. So I think if we take a step back and say, you know what, let me not judge as if I know this person personally, take it with a grain of salt. That's for them to deal with, and just uplift and encourage people to do better. That's it.
So should people be canceled for things that come out about them that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago?
Absolutely not. I mean, the people change. I'm not the same guy I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. I'm a different person, so people change.
What if it's rape? What if it's murder?
I mean,
Or is it just like certain things?
well, I mean, still, if the person did kill somebody, they are a murderer, but they can still be rehabilitated. You know,
I think, you know, to your point, LeVar, the thought process goes back to what you said, Drea. It's like you have to leave room for redemption. Because I think in society's mind, you think of locking somebody up and throwing away the key. We ain't gonna never have to deal with this person again. But when they get out and they're next door or they're in your neighborhood, what you gonna do then? Because, you know, the way our society is built, it's not designed. You know, the rehabilitation part often gets swept under the rug. And there's not a lot of rehabilitation taking place in our prison system, unfortunately. So therefore, you know, you do have some people who come out of prison and they continue to do the same things, but you also have some great people who've gone on and paid their debt to society and do some incredible things for society thereafter because they were young at that time. They were immature when that particular crime occurred.
and I would like to see the percentages of that. I mean, I think that's something that should be, you know, like the percentage of people that get out of prison and reform and going to have better lives versus those who become repeat offenders. I think that would be something to look at.
And back with cancel culture, I think we pick and choose if something can be overlooked and redeemed, right? If someone says something racist, I don't care how long ago it was, we like, nope, they still that way. If it's someone that we like, a celebrity that we support, we like their music, we like their stuff, we're like, well, we should give that person a chance. I think we gotta be real about it. I think we pick and choose, and I think we're not keeping it 100 when we don't admit that.